was blessed with an old barn on this property that was on its way down. So there has been a ton of material that I've been able to glean from this barn that was good for construction projects, but a lot of the beams were rotting and so weren't any good for construction. So last year I borrowed a friend's tractor and took some beams down and dragged them out and have put them here. And this is the first time that I've had a lot of woody debris that I felt was appropriate for hugel mounds. So I'm experimenting this year with hugel mounds. These, we're piling soil and any weeds that we pull out of our gardens into these mounds. So now it looks like a weedy mess, but next year we'll be planting into this. And we began a hugel mound over here this year that we've planted up, and it's doing very well. This is our Hugelkultur garden, and a lot of these are experiments, but we planted them in the spring and everything was tiny and everything is just taken off. So the theory with hugel mounds is that the wood slowly decomposes and holds on to moisture. My soil on this property is heavy clay, and so a lot of things suffer in heavy clay soils, and so this raises the garden off the clay base, but still makes those nutrients available to plants that have deep taproots. And so it's a very good system for growing if you have challenging land. So a lot of this clay, you know, there are dips that hold the moisture that is really not appropriate for gardens. So this is a great technique to use if you have soil that's problematic on your property. This is a Mediterranean perennial called cardoon. It's closely related to globe artichoke, and traditionally the leaf ribs are used as a vegetable. So this big stalk, you pull the leaf material off of it, and then they often blanch them. So they'll put all the leaves up and cover them with cardboard for a few weeks, and then harvest them, and that way they'll be more mild and tender. And you cook them a fair bit. You have to cook them for about 20 minutes to render them edible. But often they batter and fry them after that. And it's a substantial vegetable. These are not all that hardy. I've had some survive the winter, but not many. So we're saving seeds from the ones that do survive to try to come up with a winter hardy variety. And this is a young plum tree that we've planted. Plant a lot of different varieties of any fruit tree that we plant to see which works well in this environment. This is one of my favorite salad greens. This is called oxeye daisy. You'll see these growing along the roadsides when they're in flower. It's a common roadside weed, but the leaves taste sort of carroty. They have a wonderful flavor, and we put them in salads all the time. This is borage, which is a nutrient accumulator, and also you can eat the flowers, and they also attract beneficial insects. Useful plant to have around. And this is an experiment for us. This is sea beet, which is the wild ancestor of our cultivated beets, as well as Swiss chard. And you can see these leaves are huge, so we've been using them a lot in the gardens. These are perennial in England, and that's where I got the seed. I traded seed with a guy in England who's growing perennial vegetables, and so we're going to see if they can survive the winter here. I'm really hoping that they do, because they're such a productive perennial vegetable. And then this is a little Carpathian walnut. There are a couple of Carpathian walnuts growing around here. These are the walnuts that you'll find in the grocery stores. English walnut is another name for them. So I've planted a couple here to see if they'll survive the winter.